Okay, so have you ever stared at a textbook, highlighted literally every single line, and studied for hours, only to wake up 2 days later and realize your mind is just completely blank? Or maybe you sat down to learn a new skill, like coding or a foreign language, and immediately felt so overwhelmed you thought, you know what, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Well, welcome to The Explainer, because today we are going to completely shatter that myth.
Listen, if you've ever felt that massive frustration of putting in all the effort but getting absolutely zero retention, I want to validate exactly how you're feeling right now. The problem is absolutely not your brain. You aren't broken, and you definitely aren't incapable of learning. The real issue? It's the outdated traditional schooling methods we were all basically forced to use. Rote memorization, passive reading, taking notes on top of notes. These methods completely fail our memory systems. They give us this cozy illusion of learning while doing absolutely nothing to build deep, lasting knowledge.
But we're going to fix that today. I'm going to reveal 3 scientifically proven ways to completely upgrade your brain's operating system. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have the exact tools you need to learn literally any topic or skill up to 10 times faster. So get ready, because these hacks are total game changers.
All right, let's dive right into hack number 1, the Feynman technique. Basically, the ultimate learning cheat code. So this technique was created by the legendary Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman. He was famously known as the Great Explainer because he had this magical ability to take mind-bending, complex ideas and make them incredibly simple. His core insight is summed up perfectly by this brilliant quote. The person who says he knows what he thinks but cannot express it usually does not know what he thinks. See, Feynman realized early on that complex jargon, fancy vocabulary, big academic words, they often just act as a mask. People hide behind them to cover up a complete lack of true understanding. The bottom line? If you can't explain it simply, you don't actually get it.
So how do we actually use it? It breaks down into 4 really quick steps. Step 1. Choose a topic and write down everything you know about it on a blank page. Step 2. And listen, this is the absolutely crucial one. Explain it as if you're teaching a 12-year-old. You literally have to bypass all complex words. Step 3. Identify your gaps. When you stumble or you realize your explanation doesn't make any sense, go back to your source material, refine it, and simplify it again. And finally, step 4, test your explanation out loud and archive it for future review.
Let's actually put this into practice. Say you're trying to understand the economic concept of inflation. If you use textbook jargon, you might say, inflation is the decrease in the purchasing power of currency over time. Yeah, a 12-year-old would just stare at you blankly. Instead, use a relatable real-life analogy. Say something like, imagine you have 10 rupees. A few years ago, that 10 rupees bought you 5 toffees. Today, that exact same 10 rupees only buys you 2 toffees. Boom! It's simple, it's memorable, and it proves you actually grasp the core concept.
And hey, we know this kind of deep processing works. Recent medical education research actually confirms that actively retrieving and reconstructing knowledge from your brain, just like you do when you form a simple explanation, builds way stronger neural pathways compared to just passively taking notes or reading. It all comes down to cognitive load and deliberate memory retrieval.
Which perfectly sets us up for our second major secret. Hack number 2, active recall and spaced repetition to defeat the forgetting curve. So, there's this terrifying reality in cognitive science, dating all the way back to Hermann Ebbinghaus. We naturally lose up to 2/3 of what we learn within 48 hours if we don't do anything with it. 2/3. All that hard work just gone. To beat this, we absolutely must stop passive reading. When you just reread a book or stare at highlighted notes, your brain plays a trick on you. It gives you an illusion of competence. But recognition is not recall. Instead, you need active recall. You gotta close the book and force your brain to retrieve the information from scratch. I know it's uncomfortable, but that exact struggle is the biological mechanism that builds unbreakable long-term memory. So the real magic happens when you time that active recall correctly. Using a spaced repetition schedule, you review the material on day 1. Then you wait until you're just about to forget it, say day 3, and you force your brain to recall it again. Then you stretch that interval out to week 1. By combining the friction of active recall with this specific, spaced-out timing, you essentially hack your brain. You convert fragile short-term memories into permanent long-term memory. You are literally flattening the forgetting curve. Let's make this super practical and combine our first 2 hacks. Let's say you just spent an hour learning a complex biological process like mitosis. Please don't write 3 pages of notes. Instead, just create a single flashcard that says, "Explain mitosis, Feynman style."
When that card pops up in your spaced repetition schedule, force yourself to actively recall your simplified 12-year-old friendly explanation. If you can do that, you've locked that information in forever.
Moving right along to hack number 3, the 80-20 rule. This one is all about prioritizing high-leverage skills. Here's a massive secret that fast learners and top performers in any field know. They never try to study everything all at once. Traditional education tells us to read chapter by chapter, treating every single fact as equally important. But real-world expertise, it just doesn't work like that. In almost any subject or skill, there is a vital 20% goldmine of core content, patterns, or subskills. Mastering just that 20% is going to drive 80% of your real-world results. Your job as a fast learner isn't to memorize the whole textbook. Your job is to play detective and hunt down that highly leveraged 20% before you do anything else.
What does this actually look like in practice? Well, if you're learning a new language, don't try to memorize the entire dictionary. Studies actually show that a core vocabulary of just the top 300 to 500 most frequent words covers the vast majority of everyday conversation. Master those first. If you're learning to code, focus strictly on core logic and basic syntax rather than getting lost trying to memorize some massive library or framework. And in public speaking, the 80-20 rule means prioritizing a really clear message and a good story over spending 10 hours designing fancy slides. Find the core and attack it.
Okay, so you have the 3 core scientific strategies, but I want to give you a quick bonus hack regarding your environment. 0 distractions.
Look, all these amazing techniques, they're going to fail if your environment and state of mind are fighting against you. This is where the number 25 becomes your absolute best friend. Set a hyper-focused 25-minute Pomodoro block. During this time, your phone has to be completely out of sight or strictly on Do Not Disturb. Close those 40 tabs on your browser. Guys, multitasking is a complete myth. Every single time you switch your attention from your study material to a text message and back, you are wasting massive amounts of cognitive energy. Give your brain 25 minutes of pure, uninterrupted focus, followed by a short break. It is astonishing how much more you'll get done.
Now, what's truly powerful is how all these methods just lock together. Think about it. If you use the Feynman technique to guarantee you truly understand a topic simply, and then you use active recall and spaced repetition to push your brain to retrieve it over time, all while strictly focusing on the 80-20 goldmine of the most important information, and you wrap all of that inside 25-minute Pomodoro hyper-focus sessions, you won't just learn faster, you'll easily double or even triple your learning speed, and honestly, it'll actually be fun.
So, you've got the ultimate blueprint now to upgrade your brain and master anything. Here is my challenge for you today. What is that one subject, that one language, or that one skill you've been putting off because it just felt too overwhelming? Drop a comment below right now with the very first skill you plan to tackle using these new methods. Commit to it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Go find your 20% gold mine, and I will see you in the next one.